The Jamaican athletes need their people behind them, even if they did not advance to the next round. And we do not celebrate that.
So track and field is an individual sport. So when athletes travel, they don't travel with a team.
I see.
And so you have to have your own team. When Usain Bolt traveled the first time to Europe, he had 3 or 4 people that he traveled with. When I travel with 3 or 4 people, but I'm not traveling with all 60 people like we travel with the Jamaica national team. Or they know Adidas or know somebody in Adidas or Nike. They actually have those connections, because if not, you're going to end up in Germany and not know where to go and don't have any recourse. We're getting away from it where everybody is just being single-minded and thinking I'm 100% track and field, and they don't understand in life you have to have balance, because there's something called coach's eye. So when they see you, they can see if there's something there to work with. Veronica also has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree.
True.
She was preparing herself for life. We have been spoiled with all the gold medals and the world records that a bronze is just a bronze. And so that's the part that many of us miss. And that's why we need to encourage people to do the history.
It's a business in a Davian. It's not an amateur thing anymore, you know. And this is why I want you to talk about your organization. We have Johan Blake, we have a Veronica Campbell Brown, we have Sharika Jackson.
Veronica went to college.
Yeah, Veronica went to college, but Veronica went to the Olympics as a schoolgirl in 2000. Yes. And by 2004, Veronica was winning gold medals.
But this is the thing you have to remember. Veronica also has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree.
True.
People don't mention that, so that's why.
True. You're right. She
was not just all 100% into athletics. She was preparing herself for life. And so that's the part that many of us miss. And that's why we need to encourage people to do the history, because when I did the history and I found out that our Olympic gold medalist in the 400, Roden, the doctor.
And Dr. Arthur Wint. Wint, yeah.
Yeah, I mean Arthur Wint, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, Wint was a pilot and doctor and have a medical degree. Then Lennox Billy Miller was a chiropractor. Then I started looking at this thing differently. I said, well, if these people ran in the Olympics, won gold medals for Jamaica, but they also have a college degree and they also have a real job.
Gregory Horton is another example.
But we need to make that the norm. It used to be the norm, but we're getting away from it where everybody is just being single-minded and thinking I'm 100% track and field, and they don't understand in life you have to have balance.
And this is why I want you to talk about your organization a little bit more, because I have an organization myself, but it is on paper and it is similar to what you have. I want you to talk about it a little more to encourage people to get involved, know the information, read if they need information, come to you guys because you guys have done it. You know what is out there. I was talking to a young athlete recently, just to move away a little bit. And this athlete was told that he was going to sign a contract. And when that athlete signed that contract, all that the athlete is getting is apparel, no money in his pocket to pay his bills or anything. And it is all because he did not understand what was going on. He hears contract and think dollar sign.
You can't blame the person that told him.
The sponsor.
Because you have to blame him, because then that's why we say you have to have the education, because then when you know, because I went to college and they tell me what's in a contract and they say contract is everything within the 4 lines. Anything that's not on the paper does not exist.
Doesn't count.
When you look at your contract, if you don't see any money, there's no money there. And so that's where education comes in, that contracts come in, professional contracts come with all gear. Some come with money and gear. Some come with a lot of money and gear. Some come with all money with no gear, and some come with, you don't get anything. It's just a contract, So it just depends on what is written. And so that person did not ask the right question. They just assumed that the contract was going to be money. But in order for you to get a contract, you have to do something, because it's a partnership. That's what a contract is. I write the contract and say, I'm going to give you A and B. But then under it, I say, you have to do C and D. And then E says when the contract ends. So if you don't have all the elements of a contract, you don't have the right contract. So that person was going and competing and didn't know what they needed to do. Because if you know what you needed to do and you did it, then you would get money. But if you didn't do what you were supposed to do, then you know you weren't going to get any money.
But Davian, with all fairness, though, you're looking at these youngsters in high school. They don't know anything about a contract. They've never heard this term. They only hear contract and they think a dollar sign. But isn't it our responsibility, as in the people who are mentoring and the people who are around them, to explain to them, even to take the initiative and say, okay, you're moving to another level now. Do your homework. Know what is going on. Know how the business, it's a business in a Davian. It's not an amateur thing anymore, you know.
But then so you're saying it's not fair, but is it fair for that young person to walk into a grown-up area not knowing what the grown-up rules are? So that young person should have stayed in high school or stayed in college and wait until them become a big man or a big woman before them take up big man and big woman business. And so you're talking about fairness. In the music industry, it's cutthroat. In athletics, it's cutthroat. And that's why you have to have a guardian or your parents. And if your parents don't feel comfortable knowing what they're doing, they need to get somebody else that feels comfortable. And so there's a lot of people out there pretending, like I said, that they understand how this thing works because they go onto some website that people talk about athletics and they think they can just summarize what happens. You have no idea what the European circuit is like until you've been to the European circuit. I've seen a British parent say that he would not let his 16-year-old daughter, she was a high jumper, go to Europe without him. So anywhere my daughter is going, I have to travel. He would not, he said, I'm her guardian, I'm not letting her out of my sight. And so if that person can have that much for their daughter, so what is wrong with our Jamaican parents? Why are they not looking out for their kids? Because that's what it's all about. You're supposed to look out for your child and protect them. And you cannot just send your child to Europe. Because the first time I went to Europe, I was 22 years old. I had a credit card. I had cash in my pocket. And when I got to the airport, I was lost. I didn't know where to go. I didn't have a cell phone. I had to wait and I had to use a pay phone to call back to the US for ask for direction on how to get the train. Because I get to this international airport and I didn't know that airport was 3 stories and they have train station at the bottom. So when you as a Jamaican athlete leave Jamaica and you use the Sangsters airport and then you touch down in Berlin, Germany, and somebody tells you, say, take the train and meet me in Frankfurt.
But how do we do it then, Davian? All right, let's say you're ahead of Jamaica's athletics. Shouldn't we have a system in place that when our athletes are traveling, then they have a team to travel with? You have managers, you have...
Okay, so what you're describing the Jamaica football team. So track and field is an individual sport. So when athletes travel, they don't travel with a team.
I see.
So you have to have your own team. When Usain Bolt traveled the first time to Europe, he had 3 or 4 people that he traveled with. When I travel with 3 or 4 people, but I'm not traveling with all 60 people like we travel with the Jamaica national team. And so the J3A president is in charge of the national team. So his focus is to make sure that all 60 people go to the World Championship, go to the Olympics at a certain time.
And people get there individually.
So if you don't choose the right team, and that's why I say you have to be smart enough to interview these people and check out their background to make sure the person that you're interviewing that's faking like they're an agent or they know Adidas or know somebody in Adidas or Nike, they actually have those connections, because if not, you're going to end up in Germany and not know where to go and don't have any recourse. You know, we hear stories about the football players that go over and get stuck. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of track athletes that go over and get stuck. You just hear the same stories because there's only one person and it's not a team of 12 or 13 people who start making noise. But it happens too. In order to become a professional athlete, what I'm saying is you cannot just pick up yourself and go to Europe unless you have a credit card or you have cash. And if you go with US dollars, you're going to be in Europe. They use euro, so you have to go change your money over to Europe, euro money. So there's a
So,
lot going on.
Davian, don't you think then we need to have our federations, the people who are in charge, we need to have workshops to, workshops for different things. Talk to the athletes about doping, about traveling, about competition, about their health. Shouldn't we have workshops where we invite athletes, maybe, I don't know, maybe twice per year to
We
conferences or something?
they have a few. There is a few. My friend Gerald Ector, he tried to do one and tried to get some corporate sponsors. Nobody wanted to support us.
But we want to celebrate the gold medals.
Yeah, my organization, we try to do it as well, and we try to do it at champs. But when we do it at champs, we only get in the elite athletes because we don't get to cover everybody, and we don't get to cover all the other sports. A lot of organizations do it, but it's not consistent, and so sometimes there's a gap because we don't have any support, and then when we ask for support, who are getting support from the government, because they're saying, well, this is not a national team thing, this is an individual thing.
No, but Davian, at the end of the day, it is benefiting the country. It is a country thing. When we select a group of athletes and put them in our colors, they are going out there to represent us. So this that they will be doing, it is an investment. You're investing in the athletes so that when they're selected to go and represent the country, they represent well and they're safe and they're taken care of. So I don't get it.
I agree with you, but if you remember Jamaica, it was only a few months ago that everybody was upset about the Negril sign and the Montego Bay sign. And then now so many people stopping and taking picture of the sign. And now people forget about how much money the sign will cost because now they can't see the benefit of it.
And that's what I'm saying.
The short-mindedness at the time was like, why would I spend so much money on a sign? And now people are taking picture of the sign saying, why is the sign so small? Why we never do a bigger sign? So now the government, I think, man, why we only spend 4 million? We should have spent 20 million because everybody complains that the sign too small.
And now this is taking me in another section, celebrating our athletes. Do you think that we celebrate you guys enough? Or do you think that we celebrate you guys? Meaning, do you think that all the athletes are celebrated evenly?
Well, in life, everything cannot be fair. So one person is going to be loved more than the other, and that's just a natural thing. But we can try to make it equitable and try to make it fair. I remember when we went to the Olympics, they said, well, they're going to give everybody a little financial donation. I won't tell you how much it is because that's for the young professionals to go find out.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Let them do some reading. Yes.
Yeah, but it's not a lot. But the government tried to make it fair by giving everybody a little stipend. The medalists, were given certain things. The bronze medalist was given certain things. And so our country tries. However, for having so many big stars, I think we can do a lot more. Because even though we have so many gold medalists, there's tons of people who have never had even a finalist. And so when we think, well, we give Merlin Ottey this, so we can't give you that because you didn't achieve what Merlin Ottey achieved. I think that's not fair. I think you give what you have. When Merlin Ottey was running, you only could give her this much because that's all you had. Now that we have more, then we have to give more, And sometimes if you I remember when I was running, if they had given me a scooter, a motorbike scooter, that would have made me happy. If they didn't have enough money to give me a car, or to give me a plot of land, or to make me Sir Davian Clark or whatever. But you just give whatever you have. And I think as long as you give whatever you have, the people will recognize that and feel thankful, Jamaica could never pay Usain Bolt to do their tourism commercial. They can't afford it, but he was glad to do it for whatever they were able to provide. So our athletes, going back to Elaine and Asafa, they might feel like underappreciated, but they're just comparing that appreciation to what they receive from other people.
And I'm glad you touched on Elaine and Asafa, because personally, I think a lot of us overreacted by what they said instead of trying to understand where their pain is coming from. Yeah. Granted, maybe they could have said some things a little differently. Delivery. What Elaine and Asafa was saying, I agree with a lot of it. I tell people, I said, look, they're talking truth. But I guess maybe because they say that we're ungrateful, everybody or most of us get in our feelings. No, somebody was making, I think it was one of Asafad podcast where Nesta Carter was on it. And he reminded us that I think it was 2013 or 2015 World Championships. Bolt won, Gatlin came second, and it was Nesta who came third. And nobody celebrated Nesta's bronze medal was not good enough for we to get excited about.
And that probably hurt him, and that's probably why he never put in as much effort after that.
There you go. We do not celebrate them evenly. So sometimes they're all human beings, and sometimes athletes are going to feel.
It's not really the human being part of it. It's just that we have been spoiled with all the gold medals and the world records. That a bronze is just a bronze. And we forget that Jamaica used to be in the final and we used to be happy to just be sixth place.
Listen,
it's not really ungrateful. I think sometimes the people explaining it and then the people listening, they don't make the connection.
They're not making the connection, right?
Basically, what they're all saying is that the appreciation is not the same.
No, it's not.
Because the expectation is so high.
It is.
I remember when I used to run, I only ran 44.8 and people expected me to win all the time. And realistically, I'm running against Michael Johnson that's running 43.8.
43.
So he has 1 second faster than me. So in reality, there was no way I was going to beat him if he's 1 second faster. But I still went out there and give it my 100%. I tried to beat him, but it was a dream because I wasn't prepared mentally or physically to handle that type of competition.
I was in Eugene last year at the World Championship. And of course, we ran into each other and we had a little chat. And I was sitting in the stands, Davian, and I saw where athletes from other countries ran and they made the final and the celebration. Yes. It wasn't the final, it was a semi-final and they advanced to the finals. And the celebration that I saw from those athletes, I was like, wow. And some of us will get a bronze medal and we just turn and walk away because it wasn't the gold medal in record time. When Asafa was saying Jamaican people ungrateful, he wasn't saying it for it to hurt us. He was just saying the Jamaican athletes need their people behind them, even if they did not advance to the next round. And we do not celebrate that. Sadly, we do not celebrate you not making the next round. Oh, you were on the team? Fine. 2007 World Championship. Shelly and Fraser Price was on that team. I don't know how many people remember. Shelly and ran in the rounds of the 4x1. A lot of people don't remember that. We went on to win a silver medal in the 4x1 and she got a medal. She came back 2008 and I can tell you a long list. We would not have enough time to talk about Shelly Ann. Nobody celebrated that.
Because I didn't know who she was. I was on that team. I wasn't actually an athlete. I was there for some management stuff, but I remember seeing her and she didn't say a word. She just sat in all the meetings and was being quiet. Because, she just felt like so out of place being on our first team.
Right. Yeah, she wasn't recognized. Shelly wasn't recognized. It was about everybody as the more popular athletes, but she contributed to that medal that we won.
Yes.
But I'm glad that you said you were on that team because I was as I said before, being in Eugene, I saw something that I like. I saw a lot of American retired track and field athletes, and they all were wearing accreditation to be at the meet. And somebody said to me that USA Track and Field used their retired athlete to mentor and to motivate their current set of athletes. I don't know if we do that, but
not officially. We don't. We do it unofficially, but there's no
system again.
Yeah, because the
System,
reason why
system.
those guys were there was USA Track and Field as a foundation,
That's what
and
I was told.
accreditation gave them all accreditation, paid for them all to be there, all the old world record holders, all the
Yes.
old
I
gold
saw
medalists.
a lot of them, a lot of
And
them.
they were there doing autograph sessions, and they were also talking to the athletes and giving them tips and pointers and say, your coach might have told you to do this, and I've noticed you've been doing this, but I think that's the wrong thing. Back in the day, this is not how we did it. And
Yes.
they listen to them because even Willie Banks, the world record holder in the triple jump, he mentors a lot of those American triple jumpers and he gives them a lot of insights.
Wow. How important do you think that is for a team to have retired, successful track and field or even sport athlete from their country at a championship, mingling with them and give them little pep talks? How important do you think that is psychologically?
It's very important because it's like going to war and you can't see your enemy and you don't know what to expect. But then going to war with somebody that's actually been to that place where you're going to fight and tell you, say, hey, when you go over this hill, there's going to be a trench, dive in it. You go to war, you go over the hill and you see the trench and you dive in it. You're like, oh man, this is coming like this person gave me the playbook. I know exactly what to do when I come out of the trench, run and hide behind this rock, you know? So when you have somebody, a system like that in place, it makes it so easy for you because there's no surprises because basically they're giving you the blueprint to success because they're telling you I did this and I broke the world record. And then I'm giving you my world record secret. So you feel confident going out there because everything is just a lot more easier for you. And the problem that we have is between each generation, the knowledge gets lost and we have to refine it and rekindle it and start all over again. And they have a seamless transition, which is why they always winning medals all the way through. And our graph is more up and down instead of.
I agree with you that it is very important because Trishana McGowan did an interview with Melaine Walker, and Melaine said when she was just bursting onto the scene, she went to a track meet somewhere else in the Caribbean, and in the race, she said Dion Hemmings was in that race with her, and she said while she was in her lane, she kept saying in her mind, "Please let Dion Hemmings come over," because she said she was a little nervous, and she was saying, "Please."
Barbados.
Yeah, I think so. And she said, please let Dion Hemmings come over and just say something to me. So just to reassure me, because apparently Dion is her, idol. And she wanted that comfort for her to just feel a little comfortable. Aileen Bailey, I did an interview with Aileen Bailey, and Aileen Bailey said 2004 Olympics, even though Merlin was competing for Slovenia, Aileen said Merlin would come to their dorm and give them little pep talks.
Of course.
And it helps because sometimes these younger athletes, they look up to you guys and just you guys passing, touching them on the shoulder and said, you got this. It means a whole lot.
Yeah. I remember I met Merlin when I was 16 years old at the Pegasus Hotel when I was young.
Wow.
So met her a long time ago.
Amazing. There are so many things that I think we need to try and get right in order, for our track and field to look a little better, for us to have a more professional look, because we have so many retired athletes that I'm sure, our federations can say, okay, a world championship is coming up, and reach out to you guys and say, we need 10 athletes. We will pay for 10 of you guys to go with the team and interact with the team, gel with them, give them little pep talk. And I don't know what you think.
I agree wholeheartedly because guess what? I think we should have been doing that and more. I think we should have a chef that travel with the team so our athletes can eat their local food and be comfortable when they're over there in their setting. When we go to some of these meets, we have to be eating Chinese food because they provide food for the Chinese Asian people, having food that they like, but nobody ever thinks about what about the Caribbean people? What if we want something that we like to eat? And so I think that is very important. I think the mental aspect, which is what you're talking about, having sports psychologists and mentors around. is important, and people that can actually provide value, because having a mentor is somebody that provides value because they can tell you, like I say, hey, there's a ditch 50 feet down there, go into the ditch. All these things are great. But like I said, I think our organization is already overworked trying to work with the team that they have, that what we are talking about is something that has to be done by another
independent body. But
yes, that will have the time to do it. Just do it for the organization, but then relate to them and let them know what's happening, because you're still going to need their approval at the end of the day.
that is actually a part of my blueprint because, as I said before, I have an organization. It's on paper. I did it when I was doing my thesis, and
Yes.
it is something that I so want to implement. But, that is for another discussion. Talk to me about retirement, Davian. When did you know that you wanted to retire from the sport? And where did Davian go after that?
I actually wanted to retire early. I wanted to retire in 2000.
Wow,
After,
that was
after,
early.
yeah, after I got injured at the Olympics, and things wasn't going as well for me during this professional career. I thought about retiring, and family and friends were saying, "Why are you still running? You're not making any money in the sport." And so I thought about retiring in 2000, but then my brother sat me down, my older brother, Charlie, and we had a discussion. And he says, I don't want you to retire, because I think if you retire, you're going to have unfinished business, and your entire life you're going to say, what could I have done? And say, don't quit and then have regrets. So he said, hey, I want you to hang in there, and I'm going to help you any much way I can. And so my family kind of pushed me to keep going. When I eventually retired, retired in 2007. I wanted to run until 2008 Olympics, but then I just decided to just pull the band-aid off and stop, because I was 30 plus years old. I didn't have any work experience. And I knew that when I went into the work field, which is what happened, everybody look at my resume and say, well, you graduated 10 years ago. You don't have any work experience. What are we going to do with this resume? So nobody wanted to give me a shot, because they're like, you've been gone for so long. What do you know? What do you remember? So that was a big transition for me. And that's kind of why I started early. I just decided to pull away from track and field because I needed to start having a job so I could go in and have something to put on my resume. You can call my supervisor. He'll tell you that I'm always on time. I'm a nice guy. Those are the things I needed on my resume to make sure I got a job. And so those are the things I started to do. Just any job I could get so that I could build up my resume. We had moved to Austin, Texas, and I had an opportunity to work for the U.S. government, and actually worked for the IRS for a brief time, doing taxes. Joined the police force for a brief time.
Oh, wow.
Did all types of stuff, but then eventually settled in on coaching, because while I was in the police department, I was speaking with some of the police officers and the guards, and they're like, "You have experience in sports. Why are you working in law enforcement?" I say, "I'm trying to get experience in law enforcement." And they say, "Yeah, but with all the experience you have in sports, wouldn't you be a shoo-in to be a coach?" And I was like, "You would think so." I said, but when I apply, nobody wants to hire me, because they say I don't have any coaching experience. I only have expert knowledge, but I don't have any coaching skill or any system that I could show them. And they're like, yeah, man, I'm sure somebody will give you a shot if you're Olympian. And so I just started just nonstop. I still kept my job, but I just started applying in sports. And it was rough at first. I didn't get any callbacks. But then when I started getting rejection letters, the rejection letters started giving me suggestions. And they were like, yeah, we know you have the knowledge. We know you, but you don't have any qualification to be a coach. And I said, what do you mean? So you don't have anything on paper. Why don't you take one of those coaching seminars and get certified and then come back? And so I started doing my CPR license, the strength and training courses, and then my actual track and field level 1 coaching courses. And then once I did that and then resubmitted, then people said, hey, so now we're going to take you serious, because no, you spent the time to go and get all these qualifications. No, we know that you're going to actually stick to it. And so that's one of the best advices I got afterwards. But it took a few years for me to get that advice. And then I got my first coaching job working at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill in 2012. It was a little gap there from 2007 to 2012. I mean, 2010, 3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
You are the coach of young Powell. Went to Edwin Allen, then to Kingston College. Javon Powell.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that that journey, how you transition to, to be coaching a Jamaican as opposed to maybe Americans, knowing that you live in America.
Well, I got the job at the University of Texas, El Paso. And while I was there, my main focus was trying to get some, now they call it five-star recruits, the top athletes to come to the school because nobody saw University of Texas, El Paso as an elite place to train. So I went to Jamaica every year and tried to recruit the best athletes, and they wouldn't give me a shot. But luckily, I had some inside contact with Javon and his family that we've known over the years, and that was able to get me a sit down with him. And I sat down, I talked to him about all the athletes I was recruiting and how I wanted to build a national championship team, and just told him he was going to be a part of that puzzle. The puzzle broke apart because none of those guys that I had showed him, none of them showed up. He was the only one that showed up. But the year before, I was able to get Sean Bailey, which is Veronica Campbell's younger brother.
Right, yes.
Sean had won the Jamaica Olympic trials. So Javon was training with Sean when he won the Jamaica trials, and that kind of gave him confidence too. And he's like, man, if Sean can do it, I'm running with Sean stride for stride every day. If Sean is Jamaica champion, I know I could be Jamaica champion too. So basically, Javon's transition was just confidence. He trained every day with Sean, so he'd know, hey, I have this elite training partner. And if I could run with him every day, I should be at the Jamaica trials. I should be on the Jamaica team. So it was just eye-opening for him to have that growth from a 47-second quarter miler in high school. Actually, his first college race, he ran 49 seconds for me.
College? Oh, wow.
His first college race, he ran 49 seconds. And I was like, man, what are you doing? And he's like, coach, don't worry. I'm going to get it.
I'm not going, I was going to say that's a girl time, but it's.
Yeah, but he was nervous, your first race. There was a lot of things going on. But I just told him, I said, you just have to believe in yourself. And so most of the work I did with him was just him coming into the belief, training with Sean Bailey every day and some of the other guys, Shavani Hansen, and some of the other elite 400 guys we had on the team at UTEP. They just kind of start believing in each other and giving each other confidence. And I was able to assemble three guys that I think in the future are going to be on the Jamaica 4x4 team and help the Jamaica team to win gold medal in the future.
I can't wait. I'm watching your camp. I'm watching.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they have to make this journey without me. I'm at Auburn University now.
Oh, wow. So even though you've switched to another university, you're not able to take your troop with you? Coaches move with their...
No, all the guys, they all had different plans, so we're all broken up now. But I made sure.
No!
They all have great coaches.
Okay.
Javon is at University of Florida now.
Okay.
He's training with those elite guys over there, so he's doing very well. I'm sure he'll have a lot of success.